Greetings! It is I, Tantus Naraban Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It's time to continue my discussion on the lands, legends, planes, and planeswalkers of Magic the Gathering, giving you just a little bit of information about each of these topics to help introduce you to the overall worlds of Magic the Gathering and the storylines and settings that they've established. This week, it's a legend. I'm going to be talking to you about Niv Mizzit, the Perun and leader of the Izzet League within Ravnica. Now, this is a very powerful dragon that's known to be over 15,000 years old, with a genius that far exceeds any normal scales. It is beyond levels that people could not measure the genius within his head. He has come up with countless ingenious inventions to improve the lives of the citizens of Ravnica and to give them many gifts of his genius to show off to them the things that he can develop. This does include the nigh indestructible and very easily workable and slightly forgettable Mizzit, a powerful metal that he developed that mostly the Izzet League tends to use. Now, from his early days in charge of the League, he became more and more of a recluse, keeping away from the people that he worked with and from going out into public. There was actually a time period where it was over 2,000 years since he had been in public, and this is what we're leading up to with the first Ravnica block, that kind of history, that he'd been sort of just shunned away from actually interfering in the direct workings of the city and communicating with people for so long. Of course, he did communicate with members of his clan, his guild, but beyond that, it just wasn't there. Then the goblin master engineer Krivix began to deal with the Nephilim and try to combat them. Niv Mizzit came to his aid, and with the combined help, they managed to defeat 2 of the Nephilim, before a third one managed to injure Niv Mizzit and drive him away. This one had actually gained some extra powers by consuming another dragon's flesh, gaining enough abilities to defeat Niv Mizzit. He fled. He fled to a place that no one could contact him, neither from any of the other guilds or from even his clan, his own guild or his closest associates. No one could reach him, and it was not until the Nephilim were finally fully defeated and driven out of the city that he actually returned from there. This was in time to sign the new guild pact that Tasia Karlov had written up in order to sort of secure the guild since the magical guild pact had been dissolved. So it was actually, he was there to effectively repair the entire situation as it was, at least loosely. Now, Niv Mizzit is in possession of a powerful extrasensory ability called the firemind, that is a representation of his own omniscience, his basically own mindset that spreads out from him. Any Izzet that is connected to this is kind of connected to his very brilliance, rather than having a just general connection with him that would be like telepathy. This is sort of like an overall inspiration that is constantly filling them, that they are constantly filled with this genius and inspiration for the very inventions that they'll be developing. Again, not all Izzet are though connected to the firemind. This is in fact a privilege that they earn through great brilliance of their own, or for coming up with great inventions, great accomplishments, reflecting the guild itself very positively. So it is something that can be earned by an Izzet, and once they do, the brilliance of the firemind fills their mind. So after the guild pact had been dissolved, and the new, more written one had been developed, things had been quite silent for Niv Mizzit and the Izzet League. But then he decided to take on a new, very potent research project, one that he took many of the most powerful minds of the Izzet League from, including Ral Zarek, the Izzet planeswalker that he doesn't know is an actual planeswalker. Don't ask how that one's been hidden. But regardless, this took up most of the 10th district of the city, and it was a basic scavenger hunt within the Undercity for information about something called the Implicit Maze, which had to deal with the original creation of the Guild Pack, and its nature itself. Now, as the information was progressing at a slow but steady pace, and it wasn't until Jace Beleren actually managed to read the mind of Niv Mizzit and glean some information that was key from this information he had read in the dragon's mind, effectively learning about the Implicit Maze and some of its secrets. This intrigued Niv Mizzit, so he sent Ral Zarek to investigate Jace. Zarek managed to succeed on his mission partially, over the course of what his investigation was. But the information he was able to glean from Jace, he was able to take back to Niv Mizzit, and they decided to enact the plan of the Maze Runners, where Ral Zarek then went and told all the other guilds to assemble Maze Runners at the Trans-Guild Promenade in order to basically complete for its ability, this power that's linked directly to the original guild pack using the implicit maze. Niv Mizzit actually designed his own personal weird made of fire and lightning called Malik that was going to be the Maze Runner. But Zarek was incredibly jealous of this and in fact destroyed Malik and replaced him as the Izzet Maze Runner. The runners continued to compete through the maze until they reached the Forum of Azur, where Niv Mizzit showed up there, as Jace Beleren was using his powerful mind magic to basically calm down the runners and prevent them from attempting to kill each other and battle it out for the power that was there. He effectively stopped them from using the Forum in its most basic ability, which would have been very dangerous and obliterating to parts of the city. Now, after a tense standoff with Jace, and the results of what was going on there, he actually left to ponder the nature of the guild pack, as Jace had earned through his own abilities the fact of becoming the living guild pack of Ravnica. So this is something that Niv Mizzit was going to ponder, a new secret related to this entire thing, that the guild pack's magic itself could be imbued into a living being. Curious. And one such as Jace, a strange outsider to all the guild. Now, Niv Mizzit, the original card, has a interesting formula at the bottom of it. This formula has been pondered over and looked at in very many different ways by different people, but really the secrets of it have never been revealed by Wizards of the Coast. That is just meant to be this strange sort of thing at the bottom of it. What does this formula represent? What does it actually mean? Is it a secret code? No one really knows. Now, because of Niv Mizzit's secretive ways, and the fact that he kind of disappears for periods of time, and the fact he's so old, people have pondered whether he was a planeswalker or not. But it has been confirmed by Wizards that he never leaves Ravnica, no matter where he hides within it. And that means he pretty much is not a planeswalker. Once your planeswalker spark, you usually unnaturally spark, you usually just involuntarily planeswalk to somewhere else before you figure out what's going on. Granted, it doesn't mean he could never have one, but he does not currently have one. Now, there have been two cards which have represented Niv Mizzit. One from the original Ravnica block and one from the Return to Ravnica block. Both are pretty good dragon cards that I would check out. So that's it for today. I introduced you to Niv Mizzit, the powerful Perun and legendary dragon that's in charge of the Izzet League, one of the guilds of Ravnica. He has an interesting history that he's put his science forward and his mind forward, and he controls his guild very powerfully, masters of the technology and engineering sides of Ravnica. He's an interesting character that he has maintained his power over the guild for eons, for millennia, much more than any of the other guild leaders except for the undead ones. Regardless, what future holds for this interesting dragon when it comes to the learning perhaps of planeswalkers, especially now that the Gatewatch is stationed out of Ravnica. Well, this means something for it. Will he learn of these secrets? Will he learn of traveling to other planes? Time will tell what kind of antagonist he might become with this, because he's never quite an ally. Maybe a little bit. But he always has his own plans in mind. We'll see in the future. If you have any questions, comments, anything you would say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Shows your support of the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you could always check out my Patreon, linked in the description below. If you want to check out some more Magic content while I am not creating any during the week, you can always check out my friends in the multiverse, Card Bazaar, They Said, We Said, and Tasty Snackies. They do some great related Magic content and some other content if you might be interested in it. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.